Get everybody in here. Seriously.
Now. Hey guys, free donuts.
But then they'll call us liars.
Okay, you know, isn't that cool? But I'm not about to order 500 donuts.
Hey, they just said fill the room. You didn't say have to actually bring in the donuts.
Donuts are contingent upon attendance. So,
Donuts are contingent upon attendance. That's a funny text at the bottom of a commercial.
No, it's that microscopic text on the bottom of the Krusty Krab menu.
My God.
Which the night seems most dark, the sunrise comes to warm our
You know things on the miserable player, right? Hi.
Stream live TV from 85 plus
So now I can all show you a dirty trick. Watch this shit. So anytime that a commercial comes up on Google, 9 times out of 10 you can do this. See this eye? Irrelevant. Bad skill. You don't have to wait for the... We timed me. No. Hi. We are here today to talk about why we like My Little Pony, i.e. as adults, you know, as people between the ages of 20 and 500 that watch a show meant for 5 to 10-year-olds. We're not horrible people, I promise. Disclaimers. I'm having to look at my notes because it's 10 a.m. and I usually don't run panels till noon 30. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff, and it's going to be hard to hear. So get ready to talk about depression, communism, office hours, suicide, death, love interest, parenting. I'm not going to pull any punches. We're going to have some laughs, but mostly you're all going to want to kill me afterwards. So if you get mad at me, that's fine. You are allowed to throw things. I just ask that it be soft.
Okay.
God damn, I left my soft brick at home.
Here, use this.
All right, so hi, I'm Fiaura the Tank Girl. I'm one of your community guests. I also play Queen Quick for BabsCon. And I write Fallout Equestria shenanigans. Woo! I'm going to talk about that at 11 p.m. tonight when I'm allowed to.
Excellent.
But in the meantime, I have a master's in human sexuality. Oh no, excuse me. Let me rephrase this. I have a master's in human communication, a bachelor's in human sexuality, and an associate's in biology. Brain, will you turn on and get rid of the dyslexia, please? I've also taken 74 additional postgraduate courses in everything from geometry and geology to history to chemistry and metallurgy, physics. I've taken 18 kinds of physics. I really like physics. And sociology, psychology, and a few other things. Diamond Diadoodle, if you see her, she's walking around as Jedi Rainbow Dash. She's why these panels exist. I blame her. She walked in one morning with me half asleep and went, "How old are the ponies?" I don't know. Give me a minute. 3 days, no sleep, and 84 cups of coffee later. Here's everybody's ages. I'm going to bed. We have to leave for the convention in 4 hours. All right, I'll sleep in the car. So all of these are her fault. And this is Wandering Sunrise. She's the character I write and went to court for and won. Again, we'll talk about that at 11 p.m. But I run FOE stuff a lot. I'm also up in the vendor hall with one of FOE stuff. Anyway, now we're going to the front load. Hi! We're going to talk about the very first thing the show does. Get ready.
Some friends! Aww. Look on the bright side, Twilight. The princess arranged for you to stay in a library. Doesn't that make you happy?
So how hard is it to talk to somebody you don't know?
Yes, it does. You know why? Because I'm right.
How hard?
I'll preparations as fast as I can. Then get to the
Okay.
library to find some proof of what
So-
things to talk about.
This is the reaction you expect when you introduce yourself, yes?
Of course. Yes.
Hello?
Now,
Well, that was interesting.
you ready for this one?
My name is Twilight.
This is the reaction you get.
Well, how to do, Miss Twilight?
Once somebody knows your name, they'll shut up.
Actually, so, what can I do you for? Well, I am in fact.
So, I talk to people on airplanes. I have learned about a guy. I had a guy start talking before takeoff about his daughter and her soccer things. Oh, she plays for the University of Salt Lake City on the way to Crystal Mountain Pony Fair. He didn't shut up till we were getting ready to deplane. As soon, and this is something the show does. As soon, it shows the expected thing that people are going to flee from you in terror. It doesn't happen. You don't even do that unless you're just that shy. But as soon as someone knows your name, they'll talk to you a lot. I had people coming up last night while I'm trying to run a 40K charity event, trying to talk to me about their fan fictions. And I'm like, okay, I don't mean to be rude. Time and place. So my voice is shot because I was having to yell at the tabletop room repeatedly. But the point is, once someone knows you, they'll talk to you indefinitely. And it's so much easier than what we think it is. Hi, that's the very first episode of the show. Mouse, where are you? Thank you. All right. Now we're going to get into some stuff. Who here's ever felt guilty about something? Hi, you're human. Congratulations, you passed the litmus test. I'm pretty sure none of us have guilt complexes that have apocalyptic results, though. Hi, Luna. How are you? This is how guilt actually works. You feel guilty, you get guilty about it, you think about what you did over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. This ruins people's lives. They base their entire life on fixing this.
How can I forgive myself? I am no better now than I was then. My creation is about to turn the world into a living nightmare. But look at what you're doing. Nightmare Moon would have wanted the Tantabus to turn a nightmare. You're doing everything you can to stop it. Don't you see? That proves you're not the same pony you were then.
However, through the affirmation of others, do you realize atonement? And through accepting that affirmation, do you break the guilt cycle? Entire 9-week college courses on how guilt works. This show just explained it in 2 minutes.
Just a quick question. Is it only through the affirmation of others that a guilt cycle can be broken, or can a person ever do that of themselves?
You can actually never do it yourself. Someone else has to affirm to you that you've done enough, or you will always believe you're short. There's no other way to get, and it doesn't even have to be the people you wronged. It just has to be someone you trust to tell you you've done enough. You're forgiven. All right. I made you all feel guilty because it made you think about something terrible that you did. You can be mad at me. Go ahead. I thought he was actually going to throw it there for 2 seconds.
Maybe I just might. Give it a few more topics.
Ooh, you.
That's early. So, I hated this episode. And then I watched it like 30 times for scientific research purposes. Netflix says I've watched the My Little Pony show for over 30,000 hours. You try getting frame by frame stuff when you're like, I really wish this played at 60 frames a second. Wait, AI, can you remaster this at 60 frames? Let's talk about being mad.
Born in the castle, and I thought I wanted
So,
ice cream.
Trixie is doing exactly what Starlight asked her. Exactly how she asked her. No questions asked.
Okay.
Starlight's getting more mad at her.
If we want to make it to the
Why?
Empire.
You know what you asked me to.
Because you seem a little, what's the word? No,
That's the best word ever.
I am great. Did your saddle badges glow? No. Beginning. Oh, I'm not giving you
Now, there's no need to show the eventual explosion because we all know it's going to happen. We as human beings can be mad at someone and then be mad at them for everything they do. Look at her sitting over there eating saltine crackers like she owns the place. I'm just having lunch. The hell did I do? That's literally how it works. Once you're mad at someone, everything they do is wrong somehow. But the moment you express you're mad at them, and deal with it, everything goes back to normal. It's almost like holding grudges is problematic for your psyche. I'm looking at you, hammer dwarfs. What about nobody likes you? You have a book of grudges.
That's a grudging.
Just for mentioning the book, I get a grudge?
I have unironic dwarf player challenge you to a game because I mentioned the bubble project.
You know, there are times when I require an alt. This is one of them. Point is, we can get over anger by expressing it. Usually directly to the person. You want to know the simplest way to stop being mad at someone? Hi, I'm pissed at you. Here's why. How do we fix it? Next day, you want to go play video games and get drunk or high? Literally, how it works. If you choose to not fix it, is when it builds up. See, in marriage counseling, which is what my degrees would actually gear me towards doing, I would need like 3 months remedial education, and then I would need to have an established therapist for 6 weeks. And I can be your marriage counselor. By the way, therapists have their own therapists. Fair warning.
Yeah. But do the therapists have their own therapists?
Yes. The person you talk to has to have a therapist. And the therapist who specializes for therapists has to have a full-blown psychologist for them. 5 people back. Point is, but that actually is the problem, such as the home renovation or the new car. It's all the little stuff that has added up to the big thing being a breaking point. And if you address the individual little gripes and grievances and problems, and if you talk to each other when you're mad and resolve it, you can keep being in a relationship. It's stuff like you leave the bacon grease in the pan, or you forget to put the toilet seat down. I know that's a stereotype, but it's the truth.
I've got a good example of this. So I used to work with a couple of guys that were, hey, we get along, let's go to an apartment together. Then one of their girlfriends moved in with them. So here they are at work together all day, traveling to and from work, carpooling. Yeah, and then she got a job at the same place. So they were at work all together all day, driving back and forth home together, and then spending the night with them all day. And it's like, no wonder they were at each other's throats. They were never apart long enough to forget the petty stuff.
To forget the petty stuff, or address it, or go decompress. We're gonna get to that. Anyway, I've now made you depressed because you thought about a friend that you don't have anymore because you yelled at each other and wanted to get through something.
Cue the bricks.
And I'll say it.
So as a side note,
That my friends are alive.
Spike is not a person, he's a sounding board.
Your friends are all lying to you and avoiding you because they don't like your parties and they don't want to be your friends anymore. Oh no, my friends don't like my parties and they don't want to be my friends anymore.
At least she kept her word.
Yeah.
So, depression, like guilt is cyclical. I don't want to do anything to fix it because I'm depressed. I'm depressed. And just like guilt, 98% of people can only fix their depression helps. What do you think about that? When you wake up in the morning on a Saturday, you don't have to go to work, and you feel like shit. By the way, there aren't any kids in here, so I'm going to say a few curse words just because it's 10 a.m. and I'm sleeping. I'm going to be real with you. If you want to come yell at me afterwards, go ahead. You feel terrible. You feel terrible till 4 in the afternoon. What happened at 4 in the afternoon? I woke up. I made to play a video game, and I went and blew my frustration on it, and now I actually want to eat dinner and relax and stuff. There's some seats up front, guys.
We can make them move here if you want. They are.
Hey, guess what? We legally filled the room for COVID. Charlie owes my panel. Yeah, these are all not depressed. Now I'm going to talk about depression. We as human beings want to affirm that we mean something, that we matter. That's part of how you get out of a depressive cycle, is you affirm that something you're doing is important. You get a purpose. We can't do that unless that purpose involves someone else's benefit. You get depressed, you think about why you're depressed, you get more depressed, you're now depressed. That's how this works, over and over and over again. And all that has to happen is someone walk up and go, hey, you want to go to McDonald's and then we go, baseball at a wall or play racquetball. Okay. You don't want to say okay though. Because most people who are depressed feel like that if they say okay, they're going to make their friends depressed because they're depressed. No, that's not how this works. Human interaction, so long as it's not yelling and screaming and upsetness, generates positive endorphins. Endorphins kill depression. Literally, cuddling to kill depression is a thing. That's how that works. The faster you're willing to say, yes, I want that human interaction with someone I trust, the quicker you stop being depressed. Chemical or psychological. That's how you get out of that depressive cycle. I turned my therapy into my job. I play video games on live stream with a bunch of people. Therefore, if I'm like over my head, I have to turn that thing on. Turn that thing on and tell everybody, you can just cut. It's fine. 30 minutes in. I'm happy to be here.
Longer than you intended.
Okay, look, just because we ended up playing a game I liked for 8 hours instead of 5 doesn't mean I played longer than I intended. I just decided it wasn't that important. Priorities. All right, listen up. There aren't going to be any pictures in the next slides. We got a lot to talk about, and I've only got an hour and a half. An hour and a half. Hey, I know it says Pinky Bag Ocean Mode. I lied. We're going to talk about that too.
Princess, leave me be, Twilight.
Oh, look. It's best princess getting told she's bad, she feel bad.
When I tell you that Nightmare Night is one of the most popular celebrations we have. Yes, adoring shrieks of the children as they run.
Now, rejection happens. I'm sorry. It's not good. I'm not that magical. I mean, I'm magical, but I'm not that magical. However, the key to avoiding getting rejected, whether it's asking someone on a date or it's trying to do something to change work, is making it harder to say no. If no is logical option, people won't pick it. Come up to your boss. Why don't we just move the pallets over here from now on? Come up to your boss the next day. Why don't we move the pallets over here? Then Frank stops complaining. Then Jerry over there has an easier time doing X, Y, Z, and Jeff, well, he's happy. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Rejection is the preparation for yes, not the moment. You want to go on a date? Go take a shower. Go to the gym. I'm dead serious. I go swimming. By the way, swimming's really great during COVID because you're literally soaked in chlorine and that kills everything. I go swimming. It's wonderful. It's fun. I'm scared to death of sharks, so it's also helping me get over that because it's a swimming pool. There's no sharks in the swimming pool. But the point is, go to the gym, take a shower, make sure to change your soap to something that smells nice. Take the time to make it so you're going to ask out to tell you. It's not I'm alone because I'm involuntarily alone. No, you won't go take a shower. You're alone because you don't think your hair and your does. I wear a lab coat because it's the lab coat I wore when I did research. Well, this one isn't. That one got auctioned. This is a new one. But I wear it because it tells everybody I'm well educated. It's also like 14 pounds at this point with all the pins, buttons. So, know, my luggage is like, oh, here's a quarter of my luggage. Point is, if you want to avoid getting rejected, you have to make willing to say yes first. And they have to have a very good reason to say no. Further, when someone says no, it's important to ask why. You know it's hard, but you need to hear them out. Because when they say no, you want to get ready so next time they say yes. Great. I put you all into pressure rejection, and now I'm going to have some terrible, awful fun. I'm going to show 2 suicide attempts in a children's cartoon.
Yay!
This is how you don't do suicide intervention. In every way, shape, and form, this is the worst ways.
Come and see the pathetic and friendly.
This is a cry for help.
No, dum-dum, you really messed it up. Repentance.
This is a big cry for help.
It's a working title. Behold, your fears come true. A pony-eating manticore.
This is also a reminder, she can't do this trick on her own.
Great and powerful Trixie will be performing the Moonshot Manticore Meltdown. Save for when these
I left off
and
you to see
appear
this.
inside that
Also, if
black
you
box.
see like weird things come up, it's because I keep my original clips
Trick with my great
from when I did the
powerful
actual
assistant,
research.
who was also my
Some of these had to be
great
pirated.
powerful friend.
When I first came to Ponyville, Princess Celestia...
You deal with your crap later. Stop the person who's trying to kill themselves first. Deal with this later. Bad pony, you should feel bad.
Just like me, you have to make your own decisions and your own friends. But what if Trixie really was...
Okay, now you should feel really bad.
From what I've seen, she's the real thing. But it's not my place to judge. It's all up to you.
Really? You're this?
Starlight, if you're out there and you still want to be friends,
No one actually wants to
let's
commit
be
suicide,
great
by
and
the way.
powerful together. Please. Behold.
Now I must emphasize this part. How long do you think it takes clothing to normally take damage from acid?
Seconds?
Try minutes.
Really?
So, hi Trixie. You're currently in a half-delirious state, and your clothing is singed from head to toe.
And those weren't even the clothes she was wearing.
Scientifically, you had 2 minutes and 2 seconds until you would have been nothing but paste. You had 24 seconds until you would have been dead. That kind of damage already present in 3.2 seconds. Hi, Starlight. You're bad. You should feel bad. This is the worst way to do this. You stop the suicide part first. Your emotional baggage. Not
Because of going on with her lesson. Well,
yeah. That'd be a pile of bones.
I've done something?
Way to go, Princess of Friends.
Now, we're gonna see Twilight screw up even.
Really? How?
Because I'm gonna show you a good way to stop suicide.
To help you decide something?
Is that a Paris? The subtitles are in Russian.
The answer is no.
What should
be I, because I wouldn't even be here to be turned
No.
into Twilight.
The version has is the cockatrice version.
How about you
It's
order
permanent.
more ice cream flavors? The answer is still no. Why would you want to be turned into stone?
Because I'm a relic of a bygone age. I belong in a museum. Safe, preserved.
Now Twilight's doing the right thing by saying no,
I
but she's
know
doing the wrong
all
thing
you
by not
say.
following
It's
up.
up to you to get it right.
But there has to be a better way.
Twilight, please understand. I want to be remembered as the hero I the disappointment I've become.
But you're not. Rocco, wait!
Okay, you know you physically best creature.
Let's get Katrina.
She's been on this panel some truck gun.
But Pony needs finish.
First thing, physically stop.
Sweet worth anything in this day and age.
Fine. If Pony no one tells Yona's story, then your story.
Second thing, remind them why they're.
When Yona comes to Pony's school, Yona's not fit in. Pony was strange, but Yona find friends. Yona's a rock. Pony brave and strong as yak, not afraid, hero. When Yona grows up, Yona wants to be just like Professor.
Well,
Third thing,
since
how to move
celebrating
forward.
something that nice, I suppose the least I could do is tell you the rest of the story.
A new purpose for existing.
Now, I want to hear stories.
Okay.
Suicide and of the 6 months in 2.5 minutes. Explain to a. You stop the act. You explain why they're important to you. You give them reasons for living. A new purpose for moving forward. They did what it takes a therapist 6 months to a lifetime to accomplish in 2.5 minutes. This is so much better than Starlight.
Well, Twilight was also wrong again.
All right, now we're gonna, and then we're gonna get down deep and hard. So let's talk about, I don't know, the shy people in the room. I'm not gonna make you raise your hands. I know what that means.
Wow. I've never heard you sing a solo like that before. It was like a little slice of heaven. I cannot believe this isn't part of the
Now
multi-class
this
quartet.
is not how you push a shy person out.
Especially since you
You don't do it all at once.
have
Also, Pinkie Pie is an awful creature right now. It's like I want to beat Pinkie Pie while crushing Babushka.
Stunning voice of chant. Yeah, you'd be so amazing. You'd be there on stage, basking in the hook like the center of attention.
This is the worst thing you can do.
Everyone was jealously noting how they could be way better than you. Why was it them? Why wasn't it them? And then, when you choke, they'll turn on you
Whatever, Ashley Simpson.
Hit her harder! Hit her harder! Now, that is not how you handle it. How you handle a shy human being. Here's how you act. But you're not there to push them. You're there to hold their hand. You're there for them to step back behind or step back into and lean against. You're there to, if you want to do the thing, I'm right here. Go do the thing. I will be here with the cheerleader out there. It's fine. And work them through the good and the bad, slow but sure. And it can take years to get to where they'll go out and do it on their own. But as soon as they're going out and doing it on their own, you see massive changes in them, and they'll be a whole lot happier and outgoing. Some of the shyest people I know when I met them are the loudest people now. But here's where that leads.
I hate to be you right now, because I will listen to the word. Get this one.
As I recall, during your workshop you promised 100% satisfaction guarantee or you pay nothing. Well, I'm not satisfied.
Not satisfied. Every pony is fine.
Well, I guess I'm the first thing. But since I'm not satisfied, I refuse to pay. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe this either.
Are you sure you're not just a little bit satisfied? Because maybe we could cut a deal. I mean, we're both reasonable creatures, aren't we?
But no means no.
No means no, huh? Nobody's ever said that to me before. I can remember that's a good catchphrase for my next workshop.
So you're the reason he gyps Twilight and family.
It takes time and effort, but if you're actually friends with someone who's incredibly shy, it's okay. You're there to hold their hand. You're there to catch them when they fall down. You're not there to stop them from making the mistake. You're there to advise them, and if they want to do it anyway, then you get the safety net ready. I mean, it's a bad idea for you to jump off the trapeze. You weigh 300 pounds. I'm doing it. All right, get the safety net out, please. But that's the thing. They'll eventually do it on their own, and you won't have to do anything. And you'll just be proud of them. It's one of the most fun feelings in the world, to watch a shy person run up to John Delancey and squeal so loud you swear you entered an anime. And get all super excited as he signs her plushie, and then runs off squeeing. And I'm like, 2 years ago, I couldn't even get you the own mom without sounding like cry. What happened again? This one. Don't hook these. You dirty shippers. All of you. It's fine to do it in a fantasy. Don't do this to your friends. 86.7% of marriage and relationship counseling comes from, oh, well, my roommate or our friend hooked us up.
Wait, is that a real statistic?
That's a real statistic.
Oh, wow.
86.7% of people who end up in marriage counseling or relationship therapy, that's how they met.
What the holiday websites?
Yeah, don't do those either.
Yeah.
Like, the success stories they advertise are the exception, not the rule. Love happens. Ask people out, yes. Make sure that you've done the preparation to make saying no harder. But at the end of the day, don't try to force your friends together. There's a reason they don't date. You might think they should, but there's a reason they don't date. Don't make them, please. All right. We're going to talk about something else. do the same job. And using their unique talents, national labor, what is it called?
Index.
No, it's Federal Labor Authority. Who would like some statistics from them? Awesome. So, 94.5% of employees work more efficiently, work less efficiently, and take longer to do tasks than employees who are allowed to show up to work in khakis and button-ups. Employees who are in office space are more happy to be at a lower pay rate and are less likely to quit. If you, or supervisor, or manager, employees to be happy to be there, let them put a pin on their shirt. As long as it doesn't violate any health codes, who cares? Let them be themselves. I don't care if they're inside of their office space and they're an accountant. So long as they wear headphones and do all their work, I don't care if you sit there and jam out to Mr. Gordon going, let's play, all the Doom fight music right now, and do that for 8 hours. People come in and look and you see these TV shows and they're like, this office is a mess, and I'm like, yeah, but they do their job. That's the important takeaway. Let your employees decorate their uniforms, their office space. Let them be themselves. The more and more you try to turn them into just a replaceable drone, the less and less they'll want to stay. It doesn't matter if you give them more money. It's about not being miserable. I would probably make twice as much money going back to be a professor, because I have all the qualifications, including published research papers, to go jump on a tenure track job right now and probably get it. I wasn't a tenure track because I hated it. Now I write books about ponies. And I'm really happy to do it. Remind them that they are a human being and they will want to stay. Seriously. Okay, next one. We don't actually have a clip for this because I don't like Spike episodes.
Aww.
Don't be either of these two. Find a balance, please. Don't be I'm in touch with my feelings, boy, or Baka, I hate you and I'm not helping, really. Find somewhere in between these two pictures, please. I really, really beg of you. Time and place for everything. And it's not for someone else to judge. It has to be for you to judge for yourself. And then roll with it. Yes?
What if you are one of the two? How do you find that balance?
You have to sit there and go home and look at everything you did over the day and figure out where maybe you should pull back or add to. And it's a self-analysis process that can take months. But once you find the nice happy medium that makes you happy without making others uncomfortable, you are exactly where you need to be. Little white lies don't hurt, do they? Do they? Do they really? Bet you those are going to be Applejack, didn't you?
Wait.
Who panicked when they heard Rainbow Lesbian Horse say, "I don't like pies"?
And because getting rid of all those pies was a giant hassle. I mean, do you have any idea how many pies you've made for me over the years? Yes, I know exactly how many. I have a very detailed piling system.
No, she earned that pun. She earned that one. I give her that one.
It was worth it just to spare your feelings. But I was wrong. So, to make up for it, I made this pie for you.
Don't do this.
Oh my God.
So,
I made it for me.
this is an important lesson here too. Grand gestures don't fix it. Fix the little things. That's what your friends actually want you to fix.
I know I can't go back and eat all the pies you made for me in the past, so instead, I'm gonna eat this giant one for you now. So, here I go. Wait, I can't watch you do this.
Also, Pinkie Pie, your house even defies physics. Who needs reason?
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea. Oh, I can't believe you're willing to eat this terrible pie for me. It's ridiculous, and this whole thing is overly complicated, and I think I finally understand why you lied.
Did Sweetie Belle make that pie?
So, don't tell little white lies. They're pointless. I'm the person that if my friend walks up and goes, "How's this dress look?" "That looks awful. Take it back." I'm not saying that to hurt your feelings. I'm saying that because I don't want you to go out and be embarrassed when you're wearing a terrible, awful, tacky thing and it absolutely destroys everyone. Yes.
Caveat, unless it's scrapped.
Sometimes.
Now we'll have party one going.
We already did that one. But don't be afraid to tell your friends that's a bad idea. Don't be afraid and explain why. That dress looks awful. It makes your butt look too big and it makes you look fat. I'm being honest. Here, try this instead. That's the big part of this. If you feel like you have to lie, instead explain why you explain it to them, and then offer an alternative. The biggest part of criticism and people, arguing and everything. Always offer a viable alternative. Then have the other person figure out what's wrong with that alternative and work it down until you create a compromise where they're happy and the goal is still met. This is one of the biggest problems of political discourse. If someone goes, "That's an awful idea," well, offer an alternative, not the problem.
Yeah.
Don't just say something's bad. Figure out a solution at the same time. And do the follow-up. And you'll find you can have political discourses with people so long as you actually, offer something else in return. Hi. I told you we were going to talk about a bunch of stuff. All right. Now I'm going to start bringing the hammers. And the nails. And a 2x4 covered in barbed wire. Get ready.
Put the hammer down.
So. Why are the kids going this far away? Anybody know? begins life understanding two very basic emotions, joy and sadness. That's it. Every child, every person, every human being is at a different level of emotional development, and you don't know what that is until you break it down to one of those two things. Don't assume a child understands. More complex emotions, such as pride, envy, love, lust, charity, chastity, all those things come later. We have to understand them first. So when the small goes, "Why is mommy crying?" sit down and explain it to them. Break it down to their level. Don't bring them up to yours. Go to theirs. Same thing with emotionally developing people. Teenagers, they have a lot of anger and rage because that's what they're really starting to understand. Bring it down to where they are, and it's easier for them to understand. The best sports coaches can figure out the emotional development of their players and bring it to that level of development so the player can fully understand. The best teachers can bring down to the maturity of their students and bring their students up to their maturity in the process. Think about your most memorable teacher. Mine's Mr. Gilbert. Not just because he understood me, but because he took the time to do crazy stuff. He realized I really liked computers, and that I ended up having to stay after school because my parents wouldn't come pick my ass up. Not you two. You two are wonderful. I'll talk about that later. But he taught me how to program. He taught me all the basics of how to work a computer when Windows 98 was and XP was just coming out. And now, runs off Linux, and they use Windows emulation to play video games. And if anybody knows how Linux works, you have to program it yourself. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't do that. Understand where the person you're talking to is, and come to them. Because emotional maturity takes time, effort, and experience. If you have more emotional maturity than someone else, you have to come down to their level, or they're never going to develop and understand it.
Or they'll misinterpret it and do something irrational.
Exactly. Basic understanding. Your child only knows I'm upset and I'm happy. Bring it down to I'm upset and I'm happy. One or the other. And then bring them up to understand how that works step by step. My wife, I have to get through these 4 more questions. My wife lives in England. As of today, I haven't physically seen her in 2 years. Thanks, COVID. I'll get to see her for Christmas, hopefully. Still have to get someone had that way too perfect time. Still have to work out the logistics involving, the plane trip to England. That's expensive. Anyway, Twilight has a problem.
And you were in this place. You? No. You sent me to Ponyville, which means it's time for me to send Starlight Glimmer away. I can't believe it. It really is time for Starlight to go, isn't it?
Only you can make that decision. It's a difficult one, but your heart knows what's right, even as it hurts.
Where are you going to send her?
Too soon!
No, this is something I have to do. Oh, boy. Oh, boy!
However, just because she lives across the ocean and she's my wife and I love her to bits, doesn't mean I don't let her do what she needs to do. We talk to each other on average maybe 6 minutes a day. 2 days a week, we actually spend an extended period of time together. The rest of the time, we understand. I have to let you live, let you do what you need to do. To let you go off and be you. The tighter you grip, the more that slips through your fingers applies to everyone you love. Whether they be your kid, your friend, your wife, or a companion. You hold them just tight enough so they know you're always there, but never so tight that they can't go be themselves. You're there to catch them when they fall, not stop them from going. Even if going is stupid, if they're insistent on going, you let them go. You let them make mistakes, because we as human beings don't learn unless we make mistakes. Horrible, terrible, awful mistakes sometimes. But we're ignorant, stupid monkeys, and we do make mistakes, and that's how we learn. You will learn 12 times faster from messing up than you will from getting it right every single time. And that's the truth. That's how it works. You mess it up once, you'll never make that mistake ever again once you figure out how not to. You get it right 100 times, you'll not realize that there might be a way, then there might be something that you're just barely skirting that could be disastrous. All right. Who's ready to go?
And I'm being upset. It does make sense.
Guys, stop.
This is my favorite character in the show.
Or maybe whoever did it is only pretending to be upset, to throw us off. Me? But I didn't!
Come on, let it go.
Come on! Ocellus, you know you did it. Just fess up.
I said stop holidays! That's not what the holidays are about. No matter what you call them, or how you celebrate. Do you know how lucky you all are? With your stories about sharing and kindness and getting together with every creature that you care about?
But griffins do that too, don't they? Some holiday about a moon?
Blue Moon Festival. The one time of year when griffins are nice to each other. Well, as nice as we can be. Families get together to eat and then complain about the food and give each other presents they don't like, and mostly just try not to yell at each other.
Well, at least you get to be with your family.
No, because I don't have a family.
Gallus was an unwanted street orphan that they sent away
That's
to
just
get
his
rid
name.
of.
He's not any Griff's actual grandpa. Felt like I never had a place in Griffinstone. And I came here and, well, met all of you. So I don't want to go home for the break. And that's why I did it.
Griff!
Nobody wanted it. He made a family. One in 3, or just shy thereof, of college-age students don't go home for the holidays, whether it be Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, or New Year's. 1 in 3. When did the show come out? Oh yeah, 11 years ago. What was the demographic? 5 to 10-year-olds? Where are they now? Oh right, college. Christmas and suicide go hand in hand. Christmas and family violence go hand in hand. Hospitals double their ER staff between December 23 and January 2nd. That's a universal statistic across the world. Where are your friends spending the holidays? Do you know? Did you ask? The simple act of being invited to have a place to belong reduces the suicide rate at Christmas by 60%. Do you have a couch? You have an extra chair at your table. Phone calls. Fill it. You never know who's spending Christmas alone until you ask. You never know who's spending New Year's sitting at home getting drunk until you ask. And you never drinking themselves to death until you have prevented it and have been watched over. That's life, and that sucks. We have the power to fix it. Non-related families have become the norm. How many of you know whether or not your friends consider you friends or family? That's in the room. Now you see the problem. Divorce are a terrible thing. Another pirate episode, by the way. Big pirate. Because they changed it after it came out.
Son, there you are. Your friends told us how you've been feeling.
And we're sorry if we ever made you think you had to choose between worlds. Isn't our intention, honey.
Your hippogriff heritage is something to be proud of, certainly.
But you're more than just where you're from or who you live with. We love you because you're you, no matter where you choose to be.
You don't have to decide. You can keep doing what you've been doing, going back and forth.
And enjoying both places.
For God's sakes, have family and friends who love you.
Thanks for everything. Hey, are you glowing?
This picture 2019 was a soccer field. On the left, mom, stepped to the right, sad. You once loved a person enough to make a child. The sins of the father and the sins of the mother should not pass. Set aside your bullshit, your problems, and don't make them choose. Psychological studies have found that the number one emotionally traumatizing event of a child is a judge asking them to dad. Choose that. That's not fair, that's not right, and that is going to cause long-term damage every time it happens. Make a truce. Figure it out. Unless they were abusive or harmful, you can divorce. You cannot live together. You can hate each other. That's fine. But in front of your kid, no. Because every time that you argue or seem hostile to each other, that influences everything about them for the rest of their lives. For the tree remembers. And that is a very, very scary thing. Don't pass on your mistakes, sins, to your parents. Make all the new ones. Those are more interesting. There are actually two final lessons. I'm going to talk about both of them. Part of the show, however, comes first. A beautiful scene executed exactly as it should have been. It ends with closing. And handing that book to the next generation. This was beautiful when we had it. It still is. There's a new movie now, and they're talking about a new show. Cool. Remember to pass on what was great. You are a living record of history. Your parents, your grandparents are living records of history. The best records of history are film. They're not written works. They're not recorded audio. They're certainly not photographs. They are the oral and memories of individual people handed down and recorded from generation to generation. Learn from the mistakes and take the things that were good and build upon them. Those who come after you. I began this panel with a theme song that's called Do Better. Not do the best, not be amazing, simply do better. And now we're going to talk about death. Over the course of the next 4 minutes, we're going to go through every single stage of death. Every piece.
And then they wake up in spring and see, even tortoises do it. When the time comes, Tank will leave and dig into the ground. But don't worry, he'll reappear when the spring sun warms the ground back up. Come on!
Denial.
Somebody put that picture in there as a joke. It's not a joke. Well, then your book. Tank needs to hibernate.
This is also what happens when you're presented with facts that conflict with what you know. Same process.
Okay, thanks. Come on, Tank. Luckily, getting ready to hibernate.
Anger.
Say that word! Which one? Snuggly? Luckily? That one! I was just saying how cute it is you think hibern. You know, that napping thing is so cute. Why don't you go do it? Somewhere far away from here. Well, I'd rather have a...
Have you ever been so upset you tried to stop a season?
Stop winter!
Bargaining. Depression.
So sad. What are we going to do? I don't know what we can do.
Buck up, Sugar Cube. You just ain't yourself these days.
Whatever. I think so.
Acceptance.
I feel better. Really, I do. Thanks, every pony. I don't know what I'd do without you. Or him.
Remembrance.
Oh, Tank. I'm sure gonna miss you.
Hope. In March, I lost my best friend. Just as we got hope for a vaccine. His brother went to church in person. His elderly parents had permanent heart and lung damage and have had about a decade shaved off their lives. It still hurts. But I know one thing. I am a living legacy to him. Every act I do, everything I say, is a positive or negative reflection back upon that man. In an Eastern culture, you hear a lot about ancestors. Shame on you and shame on your ancestors. No, that's not what it's about. It is one very simple question. Did those who came before you stand at your side and say they are proud? That's it. And if not, why? And are you justified in them saying? Every person you ever talked to, every person who's ever talked to you, and especially every person who's not here anymore, you are now a reflection of them on what you interact with. Period. Is absolutely dead. They live on through those they leave behind. All of us experience grief, sadness, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, remembrance, hope. Those last are the two you have to hold with you. Remember the good and the bad. It's okay. We had a big fight in December of 2019. A big fight. Like, we weren't talking to each other for a week fight. And we had to go sit down and work it out. And my greatest sadness is that he didn't live long enough to see me finish my end of the bargain. I still did. Because I would be ashamed of myself. And I hope can everyone who you've ever lost say they're proud of you? This is all my stuff. This is how you find me. We have scored now. It's an open Discord. Anybody can join. I don't know where to put them in your pocket and get lost in your wallet.
Don't have one of your business cards.
Yeah, did you ever use it?
And then things just went down from there.
If you have questions, now's the time. But also, if you can't ask your question out loud, here's my email. Take a picture. It'll last longer. Furthermore, since I'm a YouTube partner, I have this little thing called Delete Forever. And Google assures me, even if the FBI came knocking at their door, they couldn't recover it. Because that's something they do. If I don't want it anymore, it's gone. So once our conversation is done, I nuke it. Doesn't matter what it felt, you couldn't. I don't want anybody to ever know to. Now I'll take questions.
Well, you have to hurt me this way. I was late.
Yes.
Is it okay if I add something?
Sure.
I'm Jane. I work at a daycare. for a kid, no matter, is be there for them. I have a little boy now. She's in drugs one day, and there is a possibility she will never see him again, and he doesn't understand that. And for a while, and for the last 4 years, started crying, I want my mom. And they don't teach you how to deal with that. Or even says moms and dads come back. And it's like, what do you do with a kid when they don't? I have 2 kids that aren't at my daycare at the moment, but in the summertime, their mom just died today of cancer. And because they're here, but I see how they must be feeling. A little boy having cancer. I have 2 kids in foster parents because their mom did nothing but sit them down in front of the TV and to oink at their grandma when they were hungry. The best thing to do for a kid is be there for them. They will try you in so many ways, but so long as you're there for them, they will grow. And it's hard because you want to say, you want back. You want to say, but you can't. But you can say, I'm. So always remember that.
Since I got in a little late, is there a copy of this presentation? Do you know what this is?
Yes, there's a copy on my personal YouTube channel. But in the meantime, let me look it up.
Because I looked up shotgun and it's not sure.
You have to actually type in Shotgun Angel Productions, not just Shotgun Angel.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. I typed up the whole.
But
I believe it's on either your streaming channel or it's on your other personal channel.
Yeah, I mean, this was a long time ago, looking for a YouTube version of this, and I think Wandering.
Hang on.
Because I'd like to
Hold on.
save
No.
this and share to others.
There you go. It's on my personal channel. That's what the name of it is. It's from 2 years ago, so it doesn't have the last 2 slides. Or it's from 3 years ago, it doesn't have the last 2 slides. Go away. There's a part to this is the same channel. It's just in 2 parts. Yeah, I haven't had time to do a full update. That's on me.
Like as far as statistics.
Yeah, I have a new video editor now, so I can actually do that.
Is it by Fiaura the Tank? Oh,
Fiaura the Tank.
Like,
I'm in the conflict. That's my last one autograph. That's weird to me. Anyone else? Yes.
You do like talk a lot about trying to like be there for someone else, trying to be the helping hand to a bunch of other people. Like, do you have any advice for those of us who have difficult empathize and relate to with
Patience.
autism and Asperger's?
No. I understand. Patience. That's it. You're not going to understand initially, every time. It's how you're there and patiently wait for them to explain. And you're going to have to remind them, give me a minute to like process this and figure it out. So just walk me through it so I can help you.
Is it like the whole situation?
And you be patient with them, because they might be sobbing, crying, upset, angry, just remind them, don't be upset at me, I'm just trying to understand. Walk me through it, help me understand it, so I can be of help to you. Time, all someone to vent it out to. And you sitting there, being patient, kind, and generous with your time, is how you'll get through the empathy part of it, to then know what you need to do. It's just a lot of patience, and I'm sorry to say there's no shortcuts. There's no quick tips. It is a lot of patience.
I would say something, but
Anyone else? Yes.
I've got something in regards to our daycare worker here. Made me think of the closing speech from Mrs. Doubtfire when he gets that letter from a little girl on a show whose parents are going through a divorce. Oh, my dear Katie, you know, some parents, when they get along much better when they don't live together. They don't fight all the time, and they can become better people and much better mummies and daddies for you. And sometimes they get back together, and sometimes they don't, dear. And if they don't blame yourself. Just because they don't love each other anymore doesn't mean they don't love you. There are all sorts of different families, Katie. Some families have one mommy, some or two families. And some children live with their uncle or aunt. Some live with their grandparents, and some children live with their foster parents. And some live in separate homes or in separate neighborhoods, and they may not see each other for days or weeks, months, even years at a time. But if there's love, dear, those are the ties that bind, and you'll have a family in your heart forever. Oh, my love to you, puppet, you're going to be all right.
I grew up on Robin Williams movies. My favorite movie to this day is Patch Adams. I cry like a baby every time I watch it. But it is so worth it. And the biggest scene I always remember is standing on the edge, angry at God. You'd like that, wouldn't you? It's the easy way out. And you want me to take it. The butterfly flies up. If I take the easy way out, I shame their memory, though. And that's not fair to them. That's it. Life is hard. Life is unfair. And it took a show full of cute, adorable pastel ponies to remind us how to be adults. Because we either never learned or we forgot. Thank you all. I'll be upstairs in the outdoor vendor hall most of the day. I haven't even opened yet because of being snow, so it's still covered with sheets. Further, tonight, 11, I have a fall equestrian panel that's also an hour and a half. And it turns out I needed 2 hours. Because we will be premiering some new content. A lot of new content. Some of which won't be available on YouTube until next week. And yeah, we're going to have a good time because I'm probably going to end up with several voice actors and my animator sitting in the front row. So he's probably going to be there too. So if you like explosions and adorable pastel creatures and shotguns, come on down. In the meantime, you all have a lovely day. Thank you for attending. And before you go, I'm going to take a picture because Charlie's going to be all like, are you kidding me?
Some people over here have already left other panels. Oh no, insecurity, I have to hide my face.
Because I'm Charlie and go, hey, guess what? It was standing room only. You owe me a main stage.
And you had one at MSP.
Yeah.
Was that all happened?
Oh, it was 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I think I almost would have preferred standing room only. My butt.
It's easier for me to prevent people from having this real messages because I have N2A and my email password is 97 characters and 6 seconds.
She immediately linked everybody to the Lacan video.
Wait, so that thing was on?
Yes.
Oh, God. I didn't know you to take that. I was just sitting it out of the way so I wouldn't have my phone and like covered in, tea grounds.
I'm curious, when you do a research job, is it just something you do by yourself, or do you have other people help you?
I have to do a lot of this by myself. I also have to pay for things like academic library subscriptions. I get a huge discount because I still am classified a professor, even though I've been one for 5 years. But it's still like $300 and something a year for like just the records lab access to about 7 libraries.
Yeah, because like I'm going to school right now for a master's in counseling, so mental health counseling.
So you know the problem of like, oh, we're reading this article, and you go look at the article, and it's like $30, and you're like, are you kidding me?
It depends if it's in the library. So I'm just curious, because like I was interested in maybe being a doctor and doing a dissertation on something like that.
If you go, my biggest advice to anyone who's a graduate student, if you are doing a master's or a doctorate, they're not paying you to be there, you're in the wrong program.
I hope I can keep this simple. I'm trying to stop looking in the past. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to stop. Looking back.
You don't. You look back anyway. But when you look back, you take the lesson you're supposed to apply, and you think you are, and you put it in here. The other way you do it is you do it in parts. Woo! Boy, you're doing yourself a routine. That's what I did. And I know you first thing. I drink some tea, I sit down on my couch, I stare at the wall. Here at the wall, start with prints and stuff. I stare at the wall, I just reflect on what I'm talking about. That's the time I do it. When I'm doing it at other times, I immediately go, stop. Don't meeting more people from the Discord. Stop. Live in the moment.
How you guys been enjoying?
Sometimes I write down what I'm supposed to deal with.
This is our first thing.
Sometimes it
We
takes
just got here this morning.
weeks to deal with one thing on the
You
list.
guys mentioned you guys just went. Yeah, we're.
I know that if I don't stop, I'll get it all back. Just remind myself, stop.
He has to
Write it down.
Oh, I was visiting her.